Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Liberty Warrior Network. It is good to have you guys back here, January 29th, 2026. LW is backstage waiting to come on, and he will in a moment. I want to give you an update, though, on what the show is going to be about tonight. For those of you that are new, welcome. I first want to say, first and foremost, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button if you haven't already. We look forward to having a great conversation tonight. Those of you that have been around a long time, thank you for already like, sharing, and subscribing and getting the notifications out. We appreciate it. But tonight, I think, is going to be a really good conversation because we're going to cover Elon Musk and all the things that are Elon. You know, is he actually ushering in the end of times? No matter what his religious beliefs are, what is he doing that may be ushering that in? Also, we're going to cover, is Trump going to be able to pull it together and save this country? He's only got 11 months to go. LW has been talking about this with Jeff B for a long time, along with me saying, you know what, we're already a year in. We've not got that much more to go. And what has really gotten done? We know Trump's trying. We know Trump's using every power that he's able to use to get things done. But Congress is just kind of donkey dinking around and they're not getting much done. So we're going to cover that as well. Also, there is another government shutdown that looms coming Friday at midnight. They've got until midnight, and we've got the lowdown on what the holdup is and see what's going to come of that. And really, do you guys care if there's another shutdown or not? So that and so much more with LW. As soon as we get done with this, we'll be right back and we'll start the show. Hey, LW, welcome.
Hey, we're still alive. I didn't turn into a human popsicle, so it was. I think we left today. It was about 6 degrees, and sometime during work it got down to 1 over here on the East Coast. So brutal cold coming down from. I'm real close to the Canadian border up here, so it's cold.
Yeah, there's another storm coming in too, unfortunately, right in your area. And we talked a little bit about that last night, but they've upped the game on it. It's basically going to be snow this time, and it's going to last for a couple days. And then the whole East Coast, including the South, all the way through Florida, is supposed to be freezing cold, a lot of like snow and frigid temps. It's not snow for us per se, but snow for you guys up in that East Coast there. And it's kind of freaky. The West, where you normally reside, in the middle of the country, is supposed to be unusually warm. So we kind of flip-flop the country. But so far, so good. You're making it. It's just I can't believe, of all times, for you to go on the East Coast, 2 big storms moving through. That's just the way it goes, I guess.
That's how it rolls for me. The older I get, the more I understand why they call people snowbirds. I understand why when things get super cold, people they either buy a place somewhere closer to the equator or they travel there, and I get it, man. It crosses my mind every day that I'm out there and I can't feel my fingers and my toes because it's so brutal cold. It would be nice to live somewhere warm, at least in the winter months for sure.
Well, here where I'm at, I never thought I'd ever live here, but in the state of Georgia, obviously we've had some cold recently, but we've only had like 3 snow accumulations in the 16 years we've been here. And it really is beautiful for 3/4 of the year, the long, nice days, which I don't know about you, but in the winter time, when it gets dark early, it's horrible for me. I cannot stand it. It makes me sleepy. But in the summer, boy, it's like the Energizer Bunny. You just keep going. So it is pretty good here for most of the year.
Yeah, well, we'll get through it.
Yep.
Good news is we're already past the winter solstice, so the shortest day of the year has come and gone. Every day is getting longer from here on out. We got 4, maybe 6 weeks of cold temperatures. Things should start warming up, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, really. All right, let's go ahead and get the show started, and let's start with Elon. and his robots. And we can get into his personality, the things that he's said and done, and how we feel about him as well. But people need to know he just made the announcement today that Tesla is not going to be making a couple of its Tesla vehicles anymore, because what he's doing is he's going to use those factories to make the Optimus robots. And he said they're going to be available for sale to the public by the end of 2027. So there's a hustle and a bustle for the production of as many Optimus Prime robots as they can do to get into the factories for 2026. And 2027, they are going to be available to us. And, we go back and forth about technology because a lot of it can be good, but a lot of it can be done for bad, as we've seen. But what I didn't like about this, LW, is Musk spoke about this at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And he was there during a discussion, and you know who he was with? He was with the BlackRock CEO and interim WEF co-chair Larry Fink, about when Tesla's robots will be deployed in the manufacturing setting. So we've talked about BlackRock, you more than I, for years, and Larry Fink as well. So when he's got ties like that, what are your thoughts about all of this as far as his Optimus robots?
I agree with you, Tammy. I think for the most part, when people start inventing things and changing technology and trying to advance technology and advance the human race, I think a lot of it is meant for good. Even in the medical field, when you talk about medicine and how medicine has really reshaped humanity, I think for a lot of things, really good, but then there's the dark side of everything. There's the dark side of medicine, there's the dark side of technology, and it's concerning, to be honest with you. So Elon has come out and said that these robots are going to cost, I think, if I remember correctly, it was somewhere around 30 grand per robot. Now, hey, I know a lot of housewives, I know a lot of men that would probably think, wow, that would be really neat if I could afford something like that to be in my home, do my everyday chores, right? Make the bed, vacuum, wash the dishes, make dinner, heck, I don't know, take the dog for a walk.
Uh-huh.
So my question to everybody tonight, the first question I want to ask chat, and I see a lot of amazing people in there tonight. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. Do you guys do you guys think that Elon is good or bad? That's my first question tonight. So go ahead and drop us a comment there in chat, and drop us a comment if you're watching this later. Do you think Elon is good or bad, and why? And so $30,000 robot, people wanting to purchase these and put them in their home, is that a good thing? And it could be. It could be a good thing. It could help a lot of elderly people. Again, I think a lot of good comes out of technology, but there's the dark side of that. So he said that eventually robots will outnumber humanity. So it's like a 3-to-1 was his prediction within the first 20 to 30 years. So basically 30 years from today, robots outnumber humanity 3-to-1. So if there's 7 billion people on this planet, how many robots is that? So my question to chat tonight, second question is, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Because now you're talking governments, not an individual, but governments take hold of technology like that. Do they fight wars with it? Do they go and obtain, minerals from other countries? I mean, what does that look like in the future? Is it a what was that cartoon we used to watch when we were kids?
Jetsons.
The Jetsons. Is it a Jetsons scenario, or is it more of a Terminator scenario? And that's my question to chat tonight. Is do you think it'll be more like a Jetsons make our lives easier and more convenient? Which, I mean, everything is made our lives easier and more convenient with cell phones. I mean, I'm doing a live YouTube show on my cell phone right now. Computers and just everything has made our lives easier. So, are those robots going to add to that convenience, or is there a sinister plan? Is there something darker, and then we become obsolete? That's my question to chat tonight.
Well, that's the problem when you give up control and there's a lot more robots than there are humans and they can't be, I mean, you'd have to, I don't know, use what to knock them down, but if they start going crazy or used for bad, I mean, every horror movie, they always end up bad, Terminator and all that. Now, is that a foreshadowing or is that the way it is? I think the way technology has gone, yes, there are many benefits to technology. I can agree with you on that, but I have concerns about why when they make something sound so good, I don't really believe and trust in that all the time, because we've seen that with the internet. We've seen what the bad people do on the internet, what, the different things that are going on with people, from kids in these forums, from these men that are in their early 20s that are addicted to gaming. And there's no such thing, and it's not all, but it's taken away from the dating. Technology has also taken away from dating, because you just swipe and meet people, and it's not saying that some people can end up in a good relationship, but 9 times out of 10 they're swiping and it's married people or whatever. You hear these horror stories because the thing is, I don't think people have enough self-control most of the time, is what it is. When the temptation is right there and you don't think you're going to get caught, that's where it's the thing about good versus evil. And when you have that much temptation, it's hard to keep resisting, or people say, what the heck? This is the trend. This is how we date now. This is what we do now. So that's my concern on a personal level, because I've seen the personalities of people change where we don't know how to communicate. We don't have any value on a person and who they are. There's just a lot that I see that isn't good. I guess that's old fashioned of me to think, but that's where I have concerns. And it taking over, what are we going to be doing? Elon talks about, you won't have to work. The robots will be taking care of your kids. They can take care of your elderly parent. That's all good and dandy. But we also have to cover, LW, how there's always glitches in the system. There's always something that goes wrong when the computer's shut down, or when you do an update, you can't use them. Who knows what's going to happen with those? That's why I have problems with it in vehicles too. So what do you think about that kind of with the glitches and stuff?
Well, remember that movie I told you to watch, and bring that up here in a second. I want to ask chat because I'm seeing a lot of really amazing comments. So thank you for commenting tonight. Appreciate it. Here's the question to chat: would you or would you not own a robot? Would you, if you had the means to purchase one, would you have one in your home, and why? What would be the good reasons? Because we have people listening tonight that might need extra help around the house, or maybe they need snow shoveled in their sidewalk and they can't even get outside to do it. So maybe something like that could benefit some of our listeners tonight. If no, why? Why would you not have technology like that in your home? Is it because you're afraid of glitches like Tammy and I are talking about tonight, or is it just, nah, I don't need them. I'd rather do the work myself. What's that movie that I told you to watch months and months ago? And it's the one with Megan Fox. So Megan Fox is a robot that a husband loses his wife,
Mm-hmm.
I think to cancer, buys this robot to help him out around the house, to help him with his kid, and ends up falling in love with this thing, and it goes sideways really quick after that.
Well, yeah, I forget she bot or she or her or something. It was very simple. I did watch it and it was very spooky, because my thing is, it's always
You got to
introduced.
Google that, You got to Google that, Tammy, because we got to get the right name for that. We got to get the right name for the show. It was called, I think it started with a C or an S. God, what was the name of that movie? If anybody in chat could help us, that would be great. But it's a super creepy movie to watch.
Subservient. Subservient.
Subserve, yes, yes,
Subservience.
and at the end of the movie, they leave it definitely open to a sequel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I don't
exactly.
want to see the sequel because here we are talking about ushering in um, a whole new side of humanity with these robots being in people's houses, and then you watch that movie and the sequel could be worse. Like, And I'd have a hard time, me personally, I would have a hard time trusting something like that in my home. I will admit it would be nice, especially with all the crap that we got going on with kids and teenagers and all the stuff. It would be handy to have an extra hand around the house for sure, but I don't know if I could trust it, Tammy.
That's my big thing too. It is the trust and how do you do it?
I couldn't even trust using texting when texting first came out. I said I'll never be a texter. I'm always going to call and actually talk to somebody on the phone. And now I text more than I call. So, your opinions and your ideas on things do change over time. And maybe this is something at first only rich people get, and the rest of us blue collar people and poor people are like, no way. And then eventually, when the price comes down, I would imagine, some people would maybe purchase it because, well, it's like a new vacuum cleaner with new technology, and you want to give it a shot.
Well, the comments in here are good. Most people are saying that they don't really trust it. They might not want it. Some are making jokes and says, yeah, I'd use it. When you talk about that movie, and then this up here about Elon undecided, sounds nice, but people need to be responsible. And that's what I was talking about. People aren't accountable or responsible. People are like instant gratification. And when you start talking about the personal relationship in the movie Subservience, they already have, and I don't know if you've seen them, but in China and other places over there, they have robots that look like females. You can or males, but mostly they're showcasing the females, and they look like normal women, and they have them as partners, and for people to buy, and you can actually program how they think and how they act depending on what you want. So you're basically writing a prescription for your ideal perfect mate, look wise, personality wise, what they're going to do for you. And
Mhm.
that when people are looking more forward to having a robot as a companion versus a real person, that's very concerning to me. And there's a big market for them apparently. And they're like
Well,
10 or 12 grand.
it gets worse than that, Tammy. They're talking about uploading your consciousness into these robots eventually. What does that mean? That's my question to chat tonight. When they talk about uploading your consciousness into one of these robots, what does that mean to you? Drop us a comment. I'd like to see some of your guys' answers. Um, does that mean somebody who has stage 4 cancer could potentially upload their consciousness into a robot and they have a whole new body? Is that good or bad? That's another question I have for you guys. Is that something that you think is a good idea? Yeah, playing God. One of the comments in there, I think Susie says playing God. I don't know. I think that could be very. It could have some repercussions that a lot of humanity could pay some serious price for.
Well, Stephen H. here says that it's way different than what you can imagine. You already know how to validate everything. Long story short, AI will autonomously run everything independently from human control mechanism. Concept of money will be replaced with UBI, and then they stopped there. So that's the thing. We start getting into where everything's a digital and electronic, which therein gets into control of whoever they are that have control.
Tammy, Tammy, I gotta stop you real quick.
Go
So
ahead.
if you're looking at the screen, Stephen Hoff, I can't see the whole name because it's so small on my
Uh-huh.
screen. But over there on X has a good comment. Can you put that up on?
That's what I just read.
Oh,
I
okay,
put it
all
up
right.
there. That's what I just read. He said, long story short, AI will autonomously run everything independent from human control
No,
mechanism.
it's the other one too. It's basically it's a copy of your consciousness, so it's not even really you. If I am not mistaking what they're saying. So some really good comments in here tonight. Here's another string attached to this. If they create 3-to-1 robots for humanity, we go all the time back and forth, Tammy, with world depopulation. So
Mhm.
if they can create all these robots, and all these robots can pretty much do all of our jobs, My question to chat tonight is, do they need us? Do you believe in world depopulation? And if so, is this ushering in the end times for humanity? Because I feel like they talk about it all the time, Bill Gates and the rest of them. We need to reduce world population, well, through vaccines and through iRobot. Is this a way for them to do that? And I think that should be a concern of every, not just every American, but every citizen of the globe.
Yeah, well, Viet Vet here said too many evil possibilities. Give me a dial phone, bike riding with no helmet and no seatbelts. By the way, I'll be 81 this year. Well, thank you for your service, Viet Vet. And
Yes, thank
also,
you.
I think that's what we're losing here is we're losing the wisdom of generations, and our youth is coming up on a digital world and they're not getting any guidance but whatever those people that are in power and control are guiding them with, because they don't want to listen to parents. And a lot of people in chat, thank you for comments, they're saying basically nope on the robots. They don't trust it, AI or robots. And that's another aspect that we cover and have to cover is the AI chat, because a lot of people are using chat bots for schoolwork, to write their essays, to talk and find answers for. And this is the thing. They say that you can make a companion even with an AI chat bot, you name it, and it talks to you like they're your best friend. And eventually it learns your behaviors, your wants and needs. So LW, not only are we talking about robots, we're talking about digitally when we're on our computers and our phones. Where is the time that we have one-on-one conversations with people? Because people are going strictly to their technology now.
Well, I saw a comment in there that said humanity would be on the brink of extinction, and I think that is definitely a strong possibility. I mean, if you introduce this kind of technology and there's no control over it and it just goes wild and they don't need us anymore, um, yeah, we become less. Okay, here's a question for chat. Do you think when they start engineering consciousness, and this is a good one for Stephen H. and John Esterbrooks, when you think of them engineering your consciousness, or like Stephen said, a copy of your consciousness with robotics and AI, does that make us less human and it starts leaning toward transhumanism? And that's a real thing. And John Estabrooks and Stephen H. and I have talked about it lots of times on our podcast. Is that a concern of yours? Transhumanism. I know it's a concern of mine.
Well, and that takes us to the next subject, because Elon does talk about transhumanism. He's all about that in the Neuralink, because I have update on Neuralink. But before I do, I just want to remind everybody, if you want to buy me a coffee, they did drop a link in there for you to be able to buy LW a coffee. But that little code up there tonight is for buy me a coffee. That little barcode up there, you can just scan that and do that. And while I'm on that subject, I want to give a big thank you to Big Pete 1961. He bought us
Big
five.
piece.
Big Pete, yeah. He bought us
Big
five.
piece.
Big Pete. He bought us 5 coffees. He said, I'm from Kentucky and really like your show. So thank you, Big
Thank
Pete,
you.
for the
Yeah.
support. We do appreciate it.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
yes, as we get to that, a lot of people in chat are saying that they don't want to get one. No, I wouldn't want to get one. Got my husband. I like that comment, Sherry. You don't need a robot. You got your husband. So crack that whip. And I'm still changing my mind. So a lot of people, Kathy Taylor said I wouldn't have one. A lot of people wouldn't. But as we get to the Neuralink thing, so Elon Musk just recently posted on this too. He was congratulating his Neuralink team for helping many people who have lost use of their body, like you were explaining a little bit earlier. They have telepathy implant. It enables computer use simply by thinking. So LW, it's already here. They have 21 participants enrolled in the trials worldwide. And he said that the next generation Neuralink cybernetic augment with 3 times capability is going to be ready later this year. Now they have to get regulatory approval, apparently. But he said we are also ready to do our first blind sight augment that's going to enable those who have even complete loss of vision to see in low resolution at first, leading to high resolution over time. So that technology is here. And if you're blind, he's basically saying you're going to be able to see, and it's only going to get better as it progresses. So my question is, how long have they been working on this without us knowing about it, that it's out there? Now, these videos that Elon has shown recently, they show participants that are playing video games. They're running their laptops using only their minds. There's one man who's able to eat because he's got this robotic arm that digs it out of his plate and then it puts it in his mouth for him. And it all looks happy and good. And when it comes to this stuff, I'm all about it. I think that's totally amazing that you can do that. But then the thing is, where do you stop? When do you draw the line? And how do you control it being used for good?
That's a great comment, Tammy. I just have to say thank you real quick to everybody over on X. We got Jeff Baxter over there on X and Cheryl. Thank you guys for your comments. Really appreciate it. One of Jeff's comments is, I would get one. I think you guys are way too skeptical. I'm slow to technology. I tippy toe into a lot of things. I don't like to just jump right in. But thank you for the comment, because I appreciate your point of view. So it sounds like maybe some of you would rush it right out and get something like that. And I think that would be great. Like I said, I think I could see a lot of good benefits coming from that. Now, when you're talking about the Neuralink, Tammy, again, I think there's so many positive, good outcomes of the Neuralink when you're talking about some of our wonderful veterans that have served this country and served this country proudly, that have come back from war with PTSD and even worse, missing limbs. I think anything they could do to make their life closer to normal as possible with having robotic arms that's patched into Neuralink and stuff, I think that would be great. And I guess that would be my next question to chat tonight. Do you believe that Neuralink for people with disabilities, whether it's caused from serving our country, coming back with disabilities, do you think that's a good thing? Are you for it? There are people that are born that way, that Neuralink would be a major hand up and a help to them. And I do think that that would be a good thing. But again, I agree with your comment, Tammy. When you say, where does it end and where does it stop? Should there be a line? That would be a question I would ask chat tonight. Do you think there should be a line drawn in the sand with Neuralink where they don't go too far, or what is too far? Drop us a comment.
Well, how did they get as far as they got already? That's my question.
Well,
Who's
they
already
don't.
drawn them?
They don't have to tell you squat. They're private. They're private companies out there building all kinds of stuff. They don't have to report to the American public or the globe on what they're building and how they're doing it. It's really none of our damn business. So to you, it's concerning because you're like, well, where did this shit come from? And it's
Yeah.
already here and it's scaring the shit out of me. And that's a knee-jerk reaction, and I totally understand it and I get it. But they're private money. They're out there building things to change and make our lives better, supposedly, and I believe that most of it is for good.
Well, Stephen also from X says not going to depopulate given the choice, sterilization and youthful longevity, or grow old and die. That's interesting.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
because that was part of the things that we were talking about with all these vaccinations and the different things going on, when they were trying to control us with COVID. And that's my concern. I may have emotional knee-jerk reactions to this, but it's because I don't trust anything that's going on with what they do. They just put it out there and they act as if they know what's better for us than us. As long as we're given a choice, that's fine. But when we're being told all these robots are going to take over jobs and everything else, that's concerning because they're making the rules. That's what I'm saying. Now, are companies going to reject these robots and pay people because they
No,
feel that's a
no.
moral?
So
Right.
I've been for the last 2 decades, I've been working in the oil field and other industries, food industry, where a lot of stuff has gone to automation. So they've already eliminated a big percentage of the human presence in factories, food industry, food production, because a lot of it has gone to automation, the oil field. A lot of the automation that I was part of for 10 years in the oil field used to have humans out there doing manual things, but now we've upgraded a lot of our systems to automation and they can control a lot of stuff remotely. So in North Dakota alone, a lot of the automation I put in there, they were controlling a lot of those systems from Denver, Colorado. So um, it's been here for a while, Tammy, and yeah, a lot of companies will use automation and robots because it's cheaper for them. They can run robots 24 hours a day, which humans, can only work a shift, 2 shifts. They got to go home, they got to sleep, they got to eat, they got medical problems, they got family things that they deal with. So they can increase production substantially with automation and robots, in my opinion. So I think you'll see a lot of big corporations, depending on what they are, using robots. Absolutely.
So that is, they're saying that's their choice, it's their money, it's what they do business with. So if there's no regulation on it, that's concerning, because then where do you get a job? What do you do? It would be back to, I guess, individuals trying to invest and having local things to be able to do, go back into the things they did in the old days, like trading or making clothes or crafting or butcher shops or whatever it may be. And I like this comment here that Big Sky Dreamer says AI is worrisome to me, as I believe this world was created for humanity, life. That's it in a nutshell. When this world was created, it was created for people and life and humans. It wasn't made for technology and robots, because where do we go from there? Like, if there's transhumanism and going on, are there going to be any real people left 100% real? I know it sounds fantasy, but that's what we said long ago about even transhumanism. That was just a ridiculous word to me not that long ago. And here we are with these people having these implants, and it is doing wonderful. But once again, do we know how long the implants last, how long they will work? We're at the beginning phases of that. These people are very brave to go under that to try to improve their lives for humanity. I believe that they are trying to do a good thing, yes, and their lives are being made better. But, there's that whole thing of what is crossing the line between playing God and helping humanity, because knows what is going to happen to these people or how long it's going to last. And I just have huge concerns over it. So I don't know. It's kind of funky for me at this point.
Well, I believe that we should have concern. We should never just blindly accept and just, oh, okay, everything's going to be great. It's kind of like the government when they say they're here to help you, you should be scared. And I think some technology you got to be cautious of too. I'm not saying it's horrible or bad or it couldn't find its place, but I'm not going to rush in with my head down. That's for sure. I want to see results first and then make a better decision from there.
Well, around Aaron RIS says that read the books or play the game Cyberpunk 2077. It could be very well be the future we are putting and heading towards. And I believe a lot of that, because I believe a lot of the movies that we've watched were a precursor to things that were already being experimented on or being done. When you talk
Mhm.
Terminators or aliens and
Yep.
all that, I don't think that it just came from somebody's imagination out of nowhere. I believe that there was some kind of technology or some kind of information that they've already seen, that encouraged them to give them the ideas to do some of these movies and stuff. But like I said, unfortunately, it's always a bad ending, you guys. In chat, are there any of them that have a good ending? I mean, even that one movie that was with the robot, the little cute robot, and it was like, just, it looked totally destroyed the world, and this sweet little beat up robot was looking for friends and stuff. I forget the name of it, but it seemed like it was going to be a cute little movie. But of course, then there's all the bad to it. So is that a precursor? Like, why doesn't anything have a happy, good ending? I don't know. I just have concerns about that stuff. So the less that we have a choice over and the more that they, whoever they are, have power over us. I don't like when it comes to the digital money. I have issues with that too. I stuck with using cash or a check for a very, very long time until I was forced to get credit to be able to buy a house or buy a car. And I wanted to say incognito. And they force you into all that. So the digital money, if it comes to that, they're going to force us into it. And then the digital stuff in your hands when you go to the grocery store and stuff, are we going to be forced into that? Is that the next on the horizon? Because LW, there's a lot of stores that have just cameras everywhere, and you go in and you just scan your hand. So what is the thought on that you have in chat? What is your thought about that? Are you going to get a little scan in your hand, or do some of you have it to be
Yeah,
able to buy stuff?
not happening here, man. I don't care if I gotta live in the woods. They're not putting any microchip as
And
for
they're saying,
buying, selling, trading, or any of that shit. No, not happening.
but that's another thing that we're heading towards. When you look at these stores in these other countries that have it, it is very concerning. They don't have money now.
Well, it's
They
here in America, Tam. It's here in America, Tammy. I reported on this on Headline Hits years ago. I think it was Michigan or Minnesota, where there was a company in Michigan or Minnesota that was actually encouraging their employees to get a microchip under their skin on their hand, and that was how people were going to clock in and clock out at work. It's been here
jeez,
for years. It's been here for years. We just we get so distracted with all the other stuff that goes on the news and in our lives and around the globe that a lot of this stuff we've already talked about and then we forget about it. And you and I
yes.
have mentioned that many a times.
And thank you, Guan, for naming the movie I was talking about. Wally is that. That is the name of the movie. And Steven's saying there's no switch to turn AI off, just so you know. Well, that's concerning. Oh, as well,
Yeah, Rosemary said it was a Wisconsin company, and maybe it was Wisconsin and not Michigan or Minnesota. I just remember I reported on it at least probably close to 3 years ago, Tammy. So if I reported on it 3 years ago, you can imagine how far it's come now.
Yeah, right. And somebody in here is saying could be the mark of the beast. That gets into the spiritual aspect now. We know that we're in a spiritual war, of course. But so before we wrap up the Neuralink, Elon, and all that, and move to the next thing, um, when it comes to Elon, I'm just going to say this. This is my opinion, and I'd like LW's, and then in chat, if you could give us your opinion as well. Elon did wonderful things for Doge. I do believe Elon's doing great things with SpaceX. I do believe that he also did Starlink, which is a wonderful thing to give people power or accessibility, free accessibility to Starlink when they had nothing. But I've also seen him talk about transhumanism. I have also seen him wear that devil red outfit for Halloween. Now, whether he believes or not, or he's agnostic or not, you can maybe he does it because he doesn't care. But the thing is, if Elon's for Elon, he could still be used for bad. He could be used for good, his choice. He could be used for bad. But he has a lot of money and power. And the other thing about Elon is people laugh at this, but he repeatedly says he's an alien and nobody believes me, and he laughs it off. Now, is that the next chapter in our lives we're going to discover with all this AI and with all this acceptance of digital stuff and robots, that aliens are going to be no big deal? Is that the next thing that is going to come up? Because we've talked about and we've seen that they're talking about all these alien ships that are supposedly hovering and coming towards us. And, it goes back and forth. But that's my thing. What is real and what isn't real? Who is good and who isn't good? And I'm not so sure on Elon. I flip flop because, evil does disguise itself as light and good. So I'm still on the fence with Elon.
Well, my opinion goes back and forth too on Elon, Tammy. So right now, I'm just paying attention to other things, and he could be good, he could be bad, he could be both. Who knows? I just hope the things that he does and continues to do, because I think Starlink was a huge benefit to all of us. I just hope that it keeps turning out good for humanity and not the other way.
Yeah. So Ziggy says, I see people who are using their hand at Whole Foods when checking out. That's kind of ironic. Whole Foods, which is all good and natural and pure and organic. And then you have a digital scan that is artificial in your hand to check out. That's crazy. But a lot of people in the comment section seem to be say, that they think Elon could be part of the beast. They're not thrilled with Elon or Bill Gates or any of them. So,
I'm not a fan of Bill Gates. Now, I can say that out loud. I am not a fan of Bill Gates at all.
mhm.
But that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, it totally is. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. And this is about how a lot of people in Congress and representatives are switching up and going against the normal grain. Like it seems like there's a separation of those that are kind of moving towards the left and those that are saying, hey, you need to wake up because all this stuff is going on. You're being led by the nose about things. And this came from Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I know there's a lot of people that aren't fans of hers, but she has told us some pretty intense things. And she was saying that this is recently, while you're being gaslit by the political industrial complex all over social media and the news telling you what you're supposed to be outraged about, she goes, I want you to think about this. Republicans funded the refugee program by nearly $6 billion of your taxpayer money in the DHS. So when we get to not trusting or, being a skeptic and all that stuff, she was in there. We know the things that she was pushing forward. We know like the history that people didn't like her. She made a lot of money and all this kind of stuff. But that is concerning that after all this talk about these different programs in Doge and USAID, that we're well aware of the scams and the money and the fraud, that they decided to use $6 billion of our taxpayer money recently again. And then about the government shutdown. Now you said, I think you said they made a deal or something earlier when we started, but Friday at midnight is when the government's supposed to shut down. But the reason I'm bringing this up is today the Democrats were holding out for the DHS, for Department of Homeland Security, in lieu of everything that's going on in Minneapolis. Now, we know how bad they're twisting all of this, all the violence and everything else. There are three things that they want. The first one is they want or the ICE people to end the mass patrols. They don't want mass patrols in any of the cities anymore. They want their ICE agents to wear individual body cameras and not masks. They want them to be able to identify them. And then they want to enforce accountability. So when we talk about not trusting people and what our president and his administration is trying to do, which is get the criminals off the streets, and you've got the Democrats threatening to have another government shutdown if they don't get these met. It is so twisted the way they're thinking about ICE. And I saw Chuck Schumer today talking about it, and they're just using how it's violent and there's murders and there's all this nasty stuff going on. And it's a complete separation from what is actually going on. You've got one side thinking one way and the other side thinking the complete different, but they're kind of holding government hostage because it's the government funding bills that they need to pass. And they said, if we get these three requests, we will pass the other 5 bills that we have to pass to keep the government open. So my question is, do we really care if it stays open or not? What are your thoughts about the Dems holding out, wanting DHS or ICE people and Department of Homeland Security to have to expose who are ICE agents and wearing the cameras when we've seen the violence against the ICE agents?
Okay, well, we could talk about this for hours. I guess them not wearing masks would be all right with me as long as the other side's going to play the same game. Because don't forget the summer of love of 2020 and everything to do with COVID-19 and shit. The other side ran into stores with masks on.
Mm-hmm.
They protest with masks on. They're constantly wearing masks so they can't be identified. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're going to impose that on ICE agents, then everyone is not allowed to wear a mask, in my opinion. And the violence. They talk about the ICE agents being violent with people, and I've seen the videos. Some of it is probably just cause, and maybe some of it isn't. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not watching the whole video, but we saw the Summer of Love where you're watching CNN and there's a building burning in the background, and they say this is a mostly peaceful protest. Are you
Mm-hmm.
shitting me, pile? Like this is Tammy, so I've been watching for the last 5 days or so, and it's getting ugly on both sides. And I keep saying this over and over and over again. I really feel like they're pushing us toward a civil war. Now, is it going to be left versus right? Is it going to be? Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just telling you, it's a concern of mine that they keep using our emotions against us, and they're getting people enraged over all kinds of things. I've listened to major support for Trump. I've listened to supporters falling away from Trump. I have sat there and listened to a teenage movie star even come out and say stupid things like, when the Democrats get back in office, they're going to hold all of us accountable. Any of us who agree with ICE and protect ICE and go along with ICE, um, they want to hold us on charges of treason, and they want us to be executed. So here we are, right back in the same boat, just like they
Mm-hmm.
talked about us during COVID for the purebloods, for the people who didn't were non-vaxxers. Remember that they were going to come after us for not taking the vaccines. Even Joe Biden himself said that we were a threat to humanity for not vaccinating, and they were going to punish us for that shit. So again, is Trump going to be able to rein all this in? Is he going to be able to make the changes that need to be made in the time he's got left? Because if we lose midterms, we're in trouble. And we've talked about it many times. It's just going to be 2 years of fighting impeachments and nothing will get done. So he's got to rein it in now. He's got to make some hard choices. He's got to make some moves, because if not, it's going to turn into a nasty, nasty, nasty. 11 months is giving him extra time. I think he got less than 11 months, and this whole thing can turn around, and then we're going to be on the hook for things. And I don't think things will go as peacefully as it did during COVID, when they start pushing blame on us and pushing the right over and over and over again, because we're just not going to stand for it anymore. And I think it could definitely. It's a tinderbox. I'm looking at everything across the board right now,
Uh-huh.
major tinderbox, and it's not going to take much of a spark to really ignite that and get it going. That's my concern.
Well, Trump knows. Okay, Trump knows what's going on, obviously, like what we feel, because he released a video explaining on his Truth Social how our country's being dismantled. And he said deliberately to create permanent one party rule. He said that it's not chaos, not incompetence, it's by design. And it talks about flooding the nations with the immigrants. It talks about prioritize non citizens over citizens. Every single thing that we have been experiencing, he's got in this video: rewriting voting laws, no ID, no verification, promise the permanent benefits to guarantee political loyalty. But he said then the final step of taking over and losing your country is single party rule. And in this video, so my thing is, I know Trump knows what's going on. I want to believe in, I can't believe that he would work this hard all these years not to really be who he is and try to get stuff done for America. My problem is all the snakes that are still around him in our government, every single
Oh, yeah,
branch, from the
yeah.
judges.
Tammy, read Kathy H's comment. Kathy H is saying Trump has gatekeepers keeping truth from him. I totally agree with that. He's got people around him. Here's the other thing. I think that there's a lot of people, and this is only my speculation and my opinion, but I think he's still got a lot of people on his team that are praying and hoping and would help flip things to the Democrats. And I think that they would stab him in the back if that happens in midterms. I think you'll see some people flip on him, stab him in the back, and they'll go after him for impeachment. That's what his last 2 years of
Yeah.
office will be, is fighting that. And remember, every impeachment prior to that cost the American taxpayer $40 million apiece. So think of all the money we'll be wasting fighting that shit.
It's just going to be, yeah, it's going to, and then what? The thing is, even if people are telling him things that he shouldn't know, or he's keeping things from him he should know. He's got, God, I've said this last night. I just can't believe the amount of stuff that he has to deal with every single day. And it's so much
Yeah.
for just one man. Cause I talk about all of us, and as much as we pay attention to try to keep up with everything, and it's like nearly impossible. I mean, I think he does have a few good people there with him, but when you've got the Democrats like twisting everything in a bad way, like they are with ICE, and we're being distracted with this violence, and or Friday it is National Shutdown Day. Again, they're having a National Shutdown Day because they say don't go to work, don't go to school, you're not doing anything. They want to stop funding ICE, and they say if you don't shop, you don't do anything, then we can help not fund ICE by not doing any of this. And to
Whatever.
me, that's
Good
so
luck to him.
absurd.
That's like the best day to go shopping, in my opinion, because then you don't have all the idiots out there. Just something to think
Exactly.
about. We should shop more on that day because they'll all be home, huddled in fetal position. So great. Let's have that day. Let's make it a national holiday, and they can all stay home. We can go shopping. My concern is we're running out of time,
Yes.
and I know a lot of people believe things are going on behind the scenes, and I think that there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes that none of us know about. Nobody is in the know. It's speculation and stuff that other people put out there, but I feel this sense of urgency, and if it doesn't get done, it's going to be very, very hectic. And I encourage all of us to pray for peace, because it's I don't think it's going to be peaceful. I really don't.
I don't either. And I'm saying this, I don't even think he has 11 months. I think it's a lot shorter than that. I think okay, so how we are looking at something and they say, don't look here, look over there. Just like,
Hmm.
the different things that have been going on. I think with the midterms, I don't even know if we're going to have them, but something has to happen by then, because if you notice, all the stuff is coming out about the voting in 2020, and Trump's talking about it. We talked about
Hmm.
Fulton County, Georgia, and all that
Think
yesterday.
of how much think of how much is on his plate to try to accomplish, Tammy. All of
Hmm.
that stuff. Everything that everybody's been wanting. And here's the thing is accountability. So if people don't see any kind of accountability before midterms, I think you could see things definitely heading a different direction, because there are a lot of people out there upset. I see videos every day with major supporters going, there hasn't been any accountability. You told us this and it didn't happen. You told us
Right.
that and it didn't happen. They moved the goalpost consistently. And honestly, I think there's just a lot of people that are just fed up with it all. If nobody gets brought if we don't see justice, if we don't see accountability, I'm concerned that you see a shift happening, and that shift won't be good.
And that's what it has taken me to. If we don't have some kind of resolution to everything that's come out with all this voting in 2020 and all this BS that we were well aware of back then, I think that we're going to have another distraction. And my thing is, I think it's going to be the focus on war. Like, don't look here, look over here. I think it's going to be with Iran and everything else, because that is another hot button that is brewing.
Yeah,
We
that's
got
another.
all
That's a whole nother show. I see Carlene's comment in there too, talking about cash. So here's a question for everybody in chat tonight, and we've asked this question many a times. I'm going to ask it again because people's opinions change over hours, over days, over weeks, and one minute you might have supported somebody, 2 months ago, and now you don't support them anymore. So, what are your thoughts on Cash Patel and Pam Bondi. Do you still support the DOJ? Do you still support Pam Bondi? Do you still support Kash Patel? If so, why? If not, if you think they should be removed, because I know even I'm in the camp of still thinking that I would want Pam Bondi removed too. Why would you want them removed? Are they not doing their job? Are we not seeing accountability? I don't see any accountability. And frankly, I'm not happy with that at all. Um, that's something that should have been addressed immediately. I feel
Yeah.
in the first year. I think we should have saw some type of arrest within that first year, and I think that we'd be having a different story right now. We'd have a different show if there would have been some arrest and some accountability happening right now. And I don't think I'd be seeing any of the support fizzling out for Trump if there was accountability, because that's pretty much 98% of what people are bitching about on these videos is no accountability.
And Pam, you're right, Pam Bondi. A lot of people in the chat are saying she needs to go and all that, and nobody's really backing her. And I agree with that too. I feel like you think about the amount of information that she has on all these people, and they just keep doing what they're doing. There's no repercussions for their actions. They had far less on other people on our side and during the Biden administration, and that paid the penalty. Look at how what they put Trump through. I mean, during his presidency and all these court cases and hearings and all this stuff to distract him from being the president of the United States, the impeachments. Just look at all the garbage that these Dems were able to throw at our side. Now our side has control of stuff, and it's like, where is it? Then you've got, we'll bring up Dan Bongino real quick because he's doing his show coming up February 3rd. I think he's back on it. But what has he come out, and people aren't happy with him either, because he's blocking people that don't agree with him. He's mad at people and saying, you don't know what's going on and you're going to find out, and I'm going to tell you what I can tell, but we know there's an NDA. So I keep saying, like, the people that we trust keep getting picked off one by one by one. I thought Marjorie was good in there. I thought Matt Gaetz was good in there. I thought Bongino was one. I thought Kash Patel was one. I was hopeful for Pam Bondi. I'm like, yes, finally a woman, good representative of a woman. They've all failed us. And I think Tulsi Gabbard's pretty dang good. I don't have any complaints about her. She was here in Georgia yesterday as well. She doesn't mess around. She's the big surprise for me, because I didn't have much faith in her, but she's the big surprise. And I think she's doing an amazing job, but I can't think of anybody besides Trump, Dan Scavino. I like Pete Hegseth. He seems to be doing a good job. I love Tom Homan.
Kennedy's done a good job too.
And Kennedy has been really going at it. Kennedy has been trying to make the food healthier.
He's doing an excellent job.
Yep, he's just came out and said school kids are finally going to get, and it was in the Oval today. They were signing stuff and talking about stuff about real food being served in schools, and for the veterans and stuff like that. For the first time, they're getting real food. And he has really put his butt on the line, because you think about all the trillions of dollars these companies are losing. Drug companies could lose because you'd go natural, with natural homeopathic things, which Kennedy's approving. We went from 77 vaccinations for your children when they start school in their young age down to 11. He's made a huge difference in the medical systems and stuff. So along with food. So I think it's wonderful, and he's done a great job too. But there's so much to deal with and so much going on that it's hard to believe that it can be done in the 11 months. So it's crazy to me. So let's read some of these comments. Patriot Girl says accountability had only been done on regular population, not in public offices. Then Steven said, Kash and Bondi being held back, blackmail of bad actors being utilized to get desired results. Well, that would be interesting there. So I want to know, excuse me, with chat, what you guys think about Dan Bongino, because some were saying that Dan Bongino was only supposed to be in there a year. And when Dan Bongino, before he headed in there, when he was on his talk show, you guys have seen the videos of him talking about, we're going to make sure that people pay the price. We're going to find things out. And then he got in there and it didn't happen. Some people said that his hands were tied or whatever, but the attitude since he's come out hasn't been that great either. So, I mean, what really is going on? What really is going on with Bongino and with everybody in there? You can say that there's a lot of corruption, their hands are being tied, but who's there saving us? Who's there working for the good then? Are you
I
telling me
don't
that the
know.
bad guys are in control?
I don't know. So one of the things that's said a lot is, well, that person had to be exposed so everybody could see how bad they are. Well, here's my opinion. I can appreciate that thought. I can appreciate somebody's perspective of, well, that person had to be exposed so we could see how bad they are. But again, George Patton says if everybody in the room is thinking the same, then somebody is not thinking. So I think different than that. My thought is this: if we're in a time crunch, why in the F would you put somebody out there to try to set them up for failure to expose them when you should have chose somebody else to take that, fill that position who can actually get shit done?
Well,
So
there's
as a
a thought.
man, so as a man, I think more logically, and again, I know that there's faith in involved in this, and you got to have belief and faith and all that stuff. I get that, but reality screams at me every frickin' day. And why the hell would we have somebody playing a part to expose them or show corruption when we could have just picked somebody with balls to begin with that could have went in there and we could see some, again, some accountability already within the first year. That is my perspective, and everybody has a different perspective. And I will respectfully disagree with the comment of it's to wake people up. If people aren't awake by now, they're never going to wake up. I can't get on that bandwagon anymore. I think that trying to show people and wake them
Yeah, he froze up a little bit. It was
up,
his internet. There you go. I think you might have.
we're past that. Holy shit.
Hmm. Yeah, it's been years and years and years. And that's the thing, a waste of time, effort, and money. If somebody would have, if okay, so to expose people, if we do the process that's laid down by saying, okay, this person did this, put them to trial, and they're guilty or not guilty. What happened to that system and just getting them taken care of? Now, I've heard that there are so many people, and I believe that now, that it's so corrupt it would take forever to do singular like that. I get that, but not having one person being held accountable, these big names. I'm ticked off about Bill and Hillary. We spent a lot of time and effort to try to accommodate these people to get them to come in and say something. And they had the balls not only to not show up for 3 times, but to say, guess what? You can come, Comer, you can come and talk to Bill off the record. Nobody's there but you and Bill. Hillary's not talking. What point was that? Because then you can't use any of that. Why would he go and have a conversation? There's no need for that. So that's, I think, what part of what people are tired of is just the people that are so bad that we can see they're bad. And it's not just an accusation. It's the history. It's the records. It's the money laundering. It's the putting the puzzle pieces together. Nobody's being held accountable. So I think that's what people are tired of. And we want Trump, and we had hope that Trump would do it. And we're a year in or over a year in, and we haven't seen that. And I think that's part of where the frustration lies. And I want to say thank you to HM Hug, said, oh my, finally a good channel. Thank you. So we appreciate that nice compliment because we get enough of the other ones. So we're going to go ahead and say thank you for the good one. Let's see.
Yeah.
United We Stand says, what if Q was an intelligent psychological operation to keep us on the sidelines while world order gets their ducks in a row? LW, what do you think? Chat, what do you think about that?
I think that that's a strong possibility. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just, again, I'm thinking different than everyone else. It's not because I don't have faith. It's not because I haven't done my research. It's because here's the thing. I love you guys, and I want you to think differently. I want you to think from all angles and not be blinded by shit. It is getting to a point now where a lot of people are starting to think that Trump is part of them. So I know that you guys want more people to wake up, and I get that. And again, you guys have a right to believe what you want to believe. But waiting for more people to wake up and try to show more corruption, fuck, we already know the corruption.
It's bad.
You would have to be a blind man at this point, blind and stupid, to not see all the corruption, not just here in America, not just in our government, but globally. So the more time that goes by that we don't see accountability, it starts making people, and I'm not saying I'm one of them, I'm just saying it starts turning the table to where people start thinking some of those people might be part of the problem too, or part of the gang. And I don't want to see that. I don't believe that. I'm concerned about it.
Well, I like this comment from Carlene. She said that Bongino was corrupt. Do a deep dive. If you disagree, that's fine. But I've spent hours at night apart from work working during the day digging on them. And that's what we need to do, of course, because they're not going to come out and say it. And you can't just expect somebody to say this person's corrupt and then you believe it. When you do the deep dive like she's doing, was he corrupt? She's saying he was. I wasn't even aware of that. I just know him from his show. But that's what I'm saying. That's part of the problem, LW, and why people get upset and people aren't having conversations, because who has the time to go individual by individual, every congressman, even anybody that's a representative, and follow their path of what they say and what they do? Because we all know they say one thing and do another just to get elected and stay in those seats. But what we have learned is the reason the Nancy Pelosi's and the freaking Mitch McConnell's and all of them stay in is because the corruption has been so bad, not just in voting, but it's a whole network of money laundering and pay for play and side accounts here and there. These NGOs that were fake and fed to the people that don't deserve it and never given to the people that it was supposed to be given to. So it gets very frustrating because we know that the president and all the people that are good has see what we see. They know more than we know. So when we see nothing, we have a problem with it. And then we get ticked off and we do get emotional about it, because what happens is a new thing comes in, just like with the Fulton County stuff in the 2020. And we're like, yay, finally, after all these years. But is that going to flop too? Because everything just disappears. There's still no accountability with COVID. You guys have to stop and think about this too. With COVID, all the lives that were lost, all the trauma and damage that was done, not one person was held accountable. And that is not a political issue. That's a humanity issue. They were forcing people to get that jab or lose their jobs or lose their businesses. Where is the accountability? All we're finding is a lot of these sons of bees took advantage of that extra PPOs and stuff from the government. And we're, especially here in Georgia, a lot of these freaking representatives kept the PPO money and didn't give it to the different businesses that need it to help them stay open or regain some of their monies from being shut down. I mean, so that's what we're seeing. We're just seeing so much corruption on so many levels. It gets very overwhelming and frustrating.
I think that's where a lot of people are. And I've done a lot of deep dives too. I've spent countless hours in front of the computer, but I got to step back a little bit and again try to think with my logic, because not everything on the internet is truth. Like just because you Googled something or you went to another site, DuckDuckGo or whatever, I have to say it because it is true. It's not everything is true that you see on Facebook or you see on another YouTube channel or any of that stuff. So I think there's a lot of stuff put out there on purpose to keep us distracted and to keep us at each other, to keep hating on each other, and it's frustrating to say the least to just have to fight this constantly. You know, it'd be nice to get the truth and accountability. That's what I would love to see. Truth
Yes.
and accountability. If you give
Yes.
those two things to the American people, whether they're on the left or the right, I think that could change the course of America. And listen, I don't want to be an echo chamber here. I'm not saying the same shit that everyone else is saying. I'm saying what I believe. I'm saying what I see. I'm saying the research that I have done and all of the logic that I'm using and discernment. Um, I want to be different than everyone else. I don't want to keep spewing out the same shit. So for those people who disagree with what I have to say, hey, you're welcome here. I love reading your comments and your perspective on things. And for people who do agree with us, love that too. And for some of you showing up that have completely different perspectives than anyone in chat or myself or my co-host Tammy, we appreciate that because that's how I feel I grow is I'm able to have conversation with people. I'm not here to get mad at anybody. I'm not kicking
No.
anybody out. If you're being an asshole, then yeah, mods boot them out. But having a different opinion or a comment that's not the same as everyone else's, I think that's healthy for all of us. I think we should be open-minded to great conversation, and that's what we're trying to start here is just a dialogue and a great conversation where we can ask questions, you guys can answer them, you can give us your perspective, you can give us your experience. Like Kathy H and Carlene have got a lot of years research, and so does John Estabrook, so does myself, so does Tammy. Like Tammy does a lot of research too. We're not just getting behind the mic here and just pulling shit out of our ass. I've got thousands and thousands of hours of research just like everyone else. And my research has taken me to a different path. So we welcome all the comments, and it's always good to read down through them. And I like seeing the different ones. I absolutely enjoy having good conversation with you all.
Well, Steven said his comment is this is what Elon got into a disagreement with the White House to pass, rip the Band-Aid off, or treat the wound. They chose the latter to lessen the damage to people. So let's not forget about that either, that whole dispute they had, because, geez, you can't even know if that's for real or not, because Elon and Trump got mad at each other, said some things back and forth, and then next thing you know, they're having dinner together. So did they make up? I mean, then you see Trump and the lead Chow, or what's his name, Chi, and they talk about each other, and then they're talking in meetings. So my thing is, why do these people have to go to the extremes, call each other horrible names, treat each other badly? Even freaking Zelensky and Putin, why do they have to do that? And then they turn around and they make nice. But with Zelensky, we know that he is begging for help, but then he turns around and he misbehaves and he doesn't listen. So that's ongoing and ongoing. So at what point do you stop, and how do you stop? Like, where is the end game? And that's what I'm saying about all of this too. It's not like we really have a choice to say, I'm over this and I'm done. I mean, because what happens in the world, in the United States, and the laws and the regulations are going to affect us just like COVID did. All right. So what choices do we have? My thing is to do the research and try to have as much knowledge as possible to be able to move forward as best I can for me and my family and make the right decisions. But it's very hard to find the truth, and that's the problem. And somebody in here
Yeah,
said,
and I agree.
go ahead.
I agree. I agree with this comment. The comment says they, the podcasters, the truthers, most are just in it for the money, and
Yeah.
I absolutely do not disagree with that comment at all. And I have inside knowledge and experience that most of you do not have, and yeah, it was a real thing, and I think some of them are still out there playing the game. I choose not to.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a comment too. They were pardoned. People were pardoned without the auto pen being overturned. Biden, something can't do jack. 8,000 pardons, including Fauci. Yeah, yes, we know about the pardons and the auto pen. Now that was a big deal for a while. Trump even has a picture of the auto pen on the wall instead of Biden. So that's another thing in the works, that we thought all the stuff was going to be overturned. Nothing was legit. but that's gotten awfully quiet. What happens? Well, we got something new to look at and pay attention to now. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like everything gets out there, we see it, and then it goes away and nothing happens. That's what I think the people are tired of, the yo yo effect, because nothing's come. We know that the auto pen was signed and used by freaking some of his intern staffers, not
Yeah,
even just, it was
it's not good.
ridiculous.
It's not
Yeah.
good.
And you know what? Nothing's been done with that. So that's another frustration that we have. And United We Stand says fact-based truth says we have traitors walking free. We have facts that crimes against humanity have been funded by our tax dollars, which pisses me off and should piss everybody off. No matter
Mhm.
what you think, it's your money being used against you and all this kind of crap. That's the problem. Your money being sent over to all these countries for arms, to do all these stupid tests that we don't need and care about in jungles and stuff like that. It's ridiculous stuff. And it's our money that's being used while we sit here and try to scrape together
Yeah,
a
stay
good
focused.
future.
Let's reel it in, Tammy. Not go on a 5 minute tangent here.
Well, it's not. Go ahead, finish it up then. But it's true, because it's true, Mike. It's
It is true. It is true.
everything going on is using our money against us, is
And
what it
that's
is.
and that's why I have concern. If I could be so clear to everybody listening tonight, that is why I have concern, because you have people who support this administration getting super frustrated with no accountability. The corruption is still running rampant. Believe it's a movie, don't believe it's a movie. I don't care. The frustration is real. You cannot deny the frustration of the support of this administration. And I'm not saying everyone, there's a lot of you listening tonight that are not frustrated. You're believing in the plan, you're trusting the plan. I get that. But there are a shit ton of people out there that have supported this administration that's frustrated. And now you got the other side who's twisting everything that you, well, it's a normal thing, right? The media lies to all
Yeah.
of us. They've been lying to us forever and ever and ever. So now you've got an emotionally charged other side, and that's why I'm concerned with civil war, or at least some kind of kinetic altercation, because now you've got all these emotions left and right running rampant. People are pissed off there's no accountability. Then you've got people attacking ICE and wanting to attack the government, and eventually I believe there's going to be a straw that breaks the camel's back, and shit's going to get real.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Well, I think that's about it for the show tonight, unless there's something else you want to talk about. But I think we covered everything pretty well. We had a lot of great comments in here per usual, which we thank you guys for all your comments and your participation. It's amazing.
Yes.
We just have to fight the good fight and keep our heads up high. This was just breaking. I'm going to read this real quick, that President Trump has filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS, accusing the agency of leaking his tax returns and other confidential information involving him, his family, and the Trump organization to media outlets. It says the suit claims the disclosures were illegal and harmed millions by violating federal privacy laws. And that's just another lawsuit, because Donald J. Trump has been suing everybody for all the things that they have done to him. So his first go around, they were suing him and he was in court and all that. Now his second go around, he's reciprocating and giving it back to them. So is it going to be wrapped up? Is it going to be taken care of? Or is it going to be drawn out? Is it going to distract him from being able to do what we, the people, would expect him to do and voted him in to do in these last few years? So why don't you give the final thought there, LW?
Well, my final thought is going to be this. Don't be afraid to accept maybe somebody else's perspective. Doesn't mean you have to believe it. Doesn't mean that you have to follow it. But don't be afraid to have good conversation, and maybe get the point of view of somebody seeing things through a different lens than you are. Because maybe your lens is dirty, maybe their lens is dirty. I don't know. I'm just saying it's okay to have great conversation and to throw back different ideas on what you think's going on. There is not a person in this chat. There's not a person watching this show. There's not a person on this show tonight that knows everything. That'd be a fucking lie. So a lot of us claim we know. A lot of us claim we've done all the research. A lot of us claim we have contacts and inside information. But I don't think anybody truly knows 100% what's going on. So that's why we have these conversations. That's why we have these shows. That's why we give you guys an opportunity to voice your opinions, your perspectives on this channel so that everybody has a place they can come and kind of just let it all go. And we're letting it all go here and appreciate all the comments. And we'll just continue asking hard questions
and having the hard conversations. Well, my final thought is, I love America. I love this land and this country. And I just want it to be America, the beautiful, the land of the free, like we grew up in. And I hope it's not too far gone and too far lost. I don't think we have that much time to figure that out. Like I said, I don't think that if we don't find anything out by midterms or before midterms, I think we're pretty sunk. And that's a scary thought. But with that being said, thanks that you were in for joining us tonight, LW, and wanting to do a show and being available and stuff. It's awesome. And I think it was a really good show and a good conversation, many good conversations and many good opinions out there as well.
Absolutely. We got the smartest people out there, so they bring all their information here. So love it.
Yep. Okay. Well, have a good night, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. God bless. Good night.